Welcome back, Wolfpack. Verlis here, and this is how to use Bruxish. So Bruxish is going to be a water psychic typing, and that means we are going to have a lot of weaknesses and a decent amount of resistances. Let's go and look into this. We're going to be weak to bug, ghost, grass, electric, and dart type Pokemon, but we will resist fighting steel, fire, water, psychic, and ice. It's just kind of mixed right there, but that is a lot of super effective hits to be afraid of. Offensively, water psychic, it's alright that we don't have to worry about anything hard resisting or hard immuning us, but with the psychic typing, we will hit fighting and poison super effective, be resisted by psychic and steel, and immune by that dark. Water, we hit fire, ground, and rock for super effective damage, and we are resisted by dragon, grass, and water. So yeah, it seems like we do stuff, and it's okay as a typing. Little too many weaknesses for my taste personally. And then let's go and look at Bruxish's stats. I don't even know what I'm looking at. I was like, yo, what if this thing's a tank, or it's kind of like a Lomomola in some way? Believe it or not, Bruxish actually has more base stat total than a Lomomola, but these stats just don't go anywhere. So we have 68 on the hit points, 70 on defense, 70 on special defense. That is miserable tankiness right there. Offensively, 105 on the attack. That's nothing. 92 on the speed. That's nothing. So we're not even an offensive Pokemon. We're not a bulky attacker. We're not a high damage, like, slow Pokemon. And we have no speed for sweeping whatsoever. So really, we got nothing. Let's just go straight on over to Cerebi and see what we can do about the Bruxish. Actually, it looks pretty nice. Strong Jaw. That is a very good ability to have. Increases the power of biting moves by 50%. So free damage into potential stab options. That's always nice. And then the Dazzling ability sounds pretty strong. Prevents the opponents from using moves with increased priority on this Pokemon. Yeah, that means if we were like a tankier Pokemon, it's all about the stats. If we had better stats, we could maybe do something about the Dazzling. That way we already know what we're going up against, and we won't get cheesed by some kind of crazy priority right there. But also, if we were like a slower, bulkier Pokemon, everything is outspeeding us anyways, so I don't really see where Dazzling is going to be a huge power play for us. Wonder Skin also, yeah, if we were playing more like shenanigans on a status or tanky kind of Pokemon, the Wonder Skin non-damaging moves have 50% accuracy. That is really awesome right there, but I don't think we have enough stats or utility to actually utilize that happening. So let's go with offenses. 105 attack, Strong Jaw, and then we look at the way that Bruxish plays, and we don't really have that great of a move pool. It's Crunch, it's Psychic Fangs. We don't even get the liquidation, so we have to go with less base power on the waterfall. And then our physical coverage just kind of really isn't there. And we do get like a lot of special stuff. We know we have the Surf. We have access to that. For some reason, we can use Scald and Ice Beam, and then we can also throw down a Psychic. But we don't have the special attack stat to back it up. So physically, there's not really too much to run, but we do have Psychic Fangs. Now, Psychic Fangs is really nice with that Strong Jaw because we have an 85 base power bite moves. So that's actually the strongest bite move in the game that we get stabbed with, that we get a Strong Jaws boost. So maybe it can be enough to push up our 105 attack and then start fighting some serious damage. So let's go hop on over to Pokemon Showdown and see what we can do with the Bruxish. Now, I tried, guys. I was really trying to come up with something that would make Bruxish work, that could make it be successful in some way. Like, it doesn't have sustain. It doesn't have any cool status options that it can run. There's no really ability snowballing outside the Strong Jaw. That I feel like that it's as useless as Glove Disc, that there's nothing that Bruxish can really do compared to other Pokemon. That's a 92 speed, 105 attacking Pokemon that's going to get one shot by most neutral hits out there. But I was looking, I was like, what can we do? Okay, 92 base speed. What happens if we get a +1 speed boost? Well, then we're looking at Z moves, because Bruxish doesn't get the agility. It doesn't have any kind of speed boosting. However, if you use Waterium Z and you go for the Rain Dance, that will give you a +1 to your speed. So that way we can actually do something with the Bruxish. So maybe as a lead Pokemon for setting Rain and then like maybe sacrifice damage or going for something, Bruxish can work. Also with the Rain Dance, we're boosting damage on Waterfall, so it's 50% under the Rain, 50% for Stab, and then with the Psychic Fangs, 50%, 50%. So it's something for the damage. Now, as for the weird EV spread right here, I was thinking Adamant Nature, because we don't need to invest into our speed stat at 92 speed while we're also gaining stats into it. So at 204 EVs into the speed, this will outspeed 135 base speed Pokemon at level 50. If you're going for different ranges, like, okay, you don't want to outspeed something that fast, then you can start cutting it down on the EVs and then put more into the hit points. But this is going to give us the most bulk and most damage possible, and we'll look into the damage calculations to see if it's actually worth it. Then I have Swords Dance, because in the end, we do need some extra damage against some of the bulkier Pokemon out there. But if we can somehow manage these Swords Dance +1 speed and then hit things with Waterfall and Psychic Fangs and then one-shot them, Bruxish can work. So that means you have to be going up against a setup Pokemon that can't one-hit KO you, because you're doing 2 turns of setup. That's like dangerous right there. And then you have to outspeed everything forever, and then you might be good to go. But then we're coming out of it with a Rain Dance. So if Bruxish goes down after 1 or 2 extra turns, then maybe a Swift Swim Pokemon or some kind of team synergy with Rain can help you salvage it a bit more. And maybe Bruxish might get a Cheese KO inside of that. Now looking at some other things, it gets Calm Mind. It gets Bulk Up. Bruxish has access to tanky utility, but there's no sustain, there's no wish, there's no recover. That you have rest, but if you're running like Calm Mind or Bulk Up with the rest and then like Chesto Resto and then you get one offensive move, can't use Psychic Fangs because then Dark type Pokemon completely wall you out. There's not really much of a point to doing that, and then our stats aren't worth it. There's bulkier Pokemon that can do things like Stockpile, that can use Calm Mind and Bulk Up and actually be really tanky and do something substantial out of it. Bruxish, the stats are just too low that even when you're boosting the stats, nothing really happens. So the options for Bruxish, Waterium Z, Rain Dance for the speed boost. If not, maybe Baton Passing something into it. Like if you can give it +2 on speed, +2 on attack with the Baton Pass, then yes, Psychic Fangs is going to be really powerful, and maybe that's where the Dazzling ability could come into play, because, alright, let's say we're going for +2 on the speed. That means we can just go, like, completely uninvest in the speed, and we're going to be outspeeding a lot. Or if we're, like, looking for just making sure we're outspeeding Scarf Pokemon, other boosting speed Pokemon, we could put some speed investment, max out the hit points, max out the attack on the Adamant Nature, and this is when we're looking at, like, Scolipede, something that has that speed boost with the Swords Dance, and then can give Bruxish the stats, because now the Dazzling ability means nothing's going to cheese us, you know, it's not going to outspeed us with a huge damage Sucker Punch, or fake us out and then combo us down, so then we can just go for big damage on a Waterfall, big damage on the Psychic Fangs, but then the Strong Jaw, Psychic Fangs on a +2 is also going to be much more insane, so let's keep that in mind as we transition over into some damage calculations. And yeah, I was just looking for, what does our Psychic Fangs do? So let's go Adamant Nature, Strong Jaw, max on that Bruxish investment for the Psychic Fangs. And that's what we get. So I was looking against a Pokemon like Oricorio. So this is a very non-tanky Pokemon as well. That this is like your average, weak, kind of frail-ish sleeper. And we're not even one-hit KOing it. That we're giving up our item for the Waterium Z. That way we know we get the outspeeds. And it's just not turning into much of anything. Let's also go and look at a Pokemon like the Tapu Koko, because we're going to be able to outspeed those 130, 135 base speed Pokemon, and even then, the Psychic Fangs isn't enough. Also, what happens if we're in rain using Waterfall? That's going to give us a little bit of a boost for that damage, but it still doesn't really come through at all, so yeah, that's why we need a +1 in attack. We need +2. We need something else to capitalize on all the stats, all the speed that we're getting access to. And what about damage? How well do we take damage? Well, I'm going off of the 52 EVs in hit points, as well as just our offensive set, and it's not looking good. Garchomp, Life Orb, Jolly Garchomp, it's going to be able to outspeed us on that Waterium Z setup turn, and then it just one-shots us on an Earthquake, or absolutely wrecks us on an Outrage. That's just Bruxish, that it doesn't get to do anything in so many different situations. I was also looking, alright, let's go with that attack, let's go with that +2. You know, we have the Adamant Nature, we have +2 from like a Swords Dance, perfect setup. Now this is where the damage starts looking pretty good. So what you might notice is that I have Psychic Fangs at 128 base power. That's because after you take the 50% given from the Strong Jaw, because the way that the ability calculator is, it doesn't have Psychic Fangs under Strong Jaw, even though it does work. So yeah, Strong Jaw doesn't change the damage at all. But if we go to the Strong Jaw on Cerebi, we can see that these are the moves that are affected by it, that we do have the Crunch, Psychic Fang, Hyper Fang, Ice Fang, all these other moves right here. So don't worry about that, it's just an issue with the damage calculator. Same amount of damage, but yeah, so we can start finding some good KOs once we get that +2 on Swords Dance, but it shows everything needs to go right. So maybe, because of our 105 attack into a very high base power Strong Jawed move, that could be it. But if we're not running it, say we are using the Dazzling ability like I said earlier, that's a lack of damage. However, if we are Baton Passing and we're very confident in our Baton Pass, then maybe we could go for Life Orb, but then +2 Life Orb. So we really need that Strong Jaw. We really need that extra boost over the Dazzling ability. So then we have to hope we don't go against any like dangerous, super powerful priority. But yeah, then that's where things start looking really good. Let's bring up other Pokemon like Tapu Fini. Tapu Fini is tends to be a pretty tanky beast in this right now. So what happens if we're 2v2, 2v2, and then we have the 128 from our dazzling ability. We take off the life orb because we're not going to have that anymore. Getting close. So depending on how many attack boosting we can get, or depending on like how heavily invested it is, you know, if we're looking at it from this range, just max out hit points. So a 70 base hit point, uninvested 115 defense Pokemon, that's going to be solid amounts of damage. We also still have the waterfall, so our coverage is going to be okay as well. And then that's kind of it. Let's go and see something like the Toxapex. We know Toxapex is going to be a really filthy Pokemon. 2v2 on the hit points, 2v2 on the defense. Psychic Fangs will find that super effective KO. +0 will not do it. So yeah, if you're going up against Toxapex, you need the offensive boosting because that 105 attack, even on a super effective stab boosting, ability boosted move, it's not going to turn into anything. So I think that's really all that there is to it. That, you know, you might think, yeah, maybe Bruxish can find slight outspeeds, it can get up with that damage. The Psychic Fangs is very powerful, but it just doesn't have enough damage in the end. You really need to, you need to overinvest in the boosting. I can't really figure out anything else that can really be done about the Bruxish. Like I said, looking at the movesets, you don't have anything fun. You don't have anything cheesy. I guess you could run the Aqua Tail instead of the Waterfall. That way, when you're setting up Rain Dance in the Aqua Tail, that's a little bit of extra damage. Aqua Jet, 105 attack isn't really worth it at all. We don't even get, like, skill swap. We don't even get ways of potentially making some fun happen on the battlefield. And then our egg moves are absolute garbage. It's Poison Fang, Ice Fang. I don't know about the Ice Fang, because after you are boosting it, then you still fall behind on, like, waterfall damage. Poison Fang, very low base power, and it kind of, like, is more for toxic stalling, even with the strong jaw boosting. So we're not doing crazy amounts of damage against a fairy-type Pokemon with the super effective Poison Fang compared to the Psychic Fangs. That's kind of it, guys. The 92 speed, the 105 attack, it just doesn't do anything. No tankiness. I got nothing. Hope you guys enjoy the video. Hope you all have a nice day. That is how you use Bruxish. Thank you very much for watching.